Good evening, everyone. My name is John Taves, and I'm the event coordinator at McNally Robinson Booksellers. We're broadcasting live from Treaty 1 territory, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. I'd like to begin by thanking the folks that published the books that we'll be discussing here tonight. Pajama Press Incorporated, who published Teaching Mrs. Muddle by Colleen Nelson. And of course, Random House Children's Books, who published Glory on Ice, a vampire hockey story by Maureen Fergus. Now, over the course of the evening, we'll be hearing from both authors. You'll be hearing some readings. You'll be hearing a little bit of conversation. At the end, we'll be taking some questions from you folks out there. So you'll notice there is a Q&A box right at the bottom of your screen. At any point during the evening, please feel free to write in a question. You won't interrupt us at all, and we'll get to those at the end after all the initial fun. But I am very keenly aware that I'm the least entertaining person on this Zoom call today. So instead, I will turn the evening over to our guests of honor, Colleen Nelson and Maureen Fergus. Please put your virtual hands together.
Crowd goes wild. Thanks, John. Okay, folks, thank you very much. Thanks, John. Thanks, McNally Robinson. Thanks to all of you for taking time tonight to spend time with us. Colleen and I talked about it. We thought that we'd do a bit of a back and forth format, introducing each other, talking a little bit about writing our books, and then each reading our book, our new book, and then turn it over back to John. And if you guys have questions, we can go from there. So I would like to start by introducing Colleen. For those of you who don't know Colleen, she is an award-winning Manitoba author of fiction for young people and an all-round great person. She lives in Manitoba with her husband, her 2 kids, and her little dog, Rosie. I've known Colleen for about 10 years now. We met the year she won the first of her 2 Manitoba Book for Young People awards, and I'm very happy to be able to call her my friend. Now, Colleen is incredibly talented. She didn't really want me talking about her many awards and nominations, but honestly, I'm just so impressed by her accomplishments that I wanted to share just a few of them with you. So her novel, Sadia, was nominated for the Forest of Reading, the Willow Award. It won both the prestigious Ruth and Sylvia Schwartz Award, as well as the High Plains Book Award. Harvey Comes Home was nominated for the Red Cedar Award, the Rocky Mountain Book Award, and the Willow Award. And Spin was nominated for the Manitoba Young Readers' Choice Award and was a finalist for the High Plains Book Award. I'm out of breath. She has so many awards. Colleen is also ridiculously prolific. This fall alone, she has 3 new releases. Underland is a follow-up to Pulse Point, which is a dystopian young adult fiction that I thoroughly enjoyed and has an extremely interesting and cool premise. Harvey Holds His Own is the next book in the Harvey series, which is a charming middle grade series about the adventures of a little Westie named Harvey, and I love those books too. And of course, then there's Teaching Mrs. Muddle, the wonderful book that she is launching today. Over to you, Colleen.
Thank you, Maureen. So that was really nice, and I want to frame that so I can remind myself, okay, I don't suck at writing, because sometimes you need that encouragement. So I have, I've known Maureen also for about 10 years.
Imagine that.
So I was so thrilled to get to know Maureen at a more personal level because I have loved her books. As a teacher librarian, I had her into many of my schools, and my classes adored the way that she would present to them and the fun-loving characters that she brought to life in the pages of her book. So some of the really beloved favorites, the Buddy and Earl series, which are based on
my dog Buddy and our hedgehog Earl, our former hedgehog.
Yeah. Anyway, R.I.P. She's an award-winning author. She's written picture books, middle grade, and young adult novels. Her books have been read around the world. Some of my personal favorites are The Day My Mom Came to Kindergarten, which won the Ontario Forest of Reading Blue Spruce Award. She's had 2 other books nominated, including The Reptile Room, which ended up being a finalist last year. Yes. And she is currently releasing Glory on Ice, this amazing book that I can't wait for everybody to hear. So I'm very excited to be here with Maureen.
Yay, that's us. And the crowd goes wild.
All right, so are you going to begin with, is this like a Barbara Walters situation where I'm going to be crying and tearful as you dig?
Only if I do my job right. Only if
I'm a little nervous.
Okay, so Colleen, I would like to ask you a few questions before you read your book for the audience.
Great.
Okay, so where did you get the idea for this picture book?
Okay, so teaching Mrs. Muddle, I was the teacher librarian at an elementary school in Charleswood called Beaumont. And if anybody is watching from Beaumont, hello. You'll notice the school is named Belmont in the book, which was a very clever way. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
So the kids always get a tour around the school, the little kinders, and when they came to the library, I jokingly said, "Oh, kindergartners, you found the gym." And of course the kindergartners corrected me and let me know that they were in the library. But I went home that night and I was like, that would make a super cute picture book. So it was something that I dabbled in for off and on. I would kind of go back to it and work on it a little bit, but I was always pretty dedicated to the middle grade YA books, even though picture books are what I thought I wanted to write when I started out. But as we'll probably talk about, picture books are incredibly hard to write, and anybody who thinks that they're not is fooling themselves. So eventually I sent it to a publisher because I was pretty excited about seeing it actually come to life, and Pajama Press worked with me, and they sort of taught me what you need to know about writing a picture book, because it is very different from writing a longer novel. And then that's how it actually, like, it's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. It's a long process.
Yeah.
So I guess start to finish, how long did it take?
Well, I would have come up with the idea about 5 years ago. And like, it's just so funny because the book is about 700, 800 words. To write 700 or 800 words on a middle grade novel, you whip it out in a morning. Let's just say it's a good writing day, and you get it done. And those exact same 700 words might end up being in the finished book. That's not how a picture book works. No. Every single line was dissected and went over, never mind all of the work I had done before even sending it in. But then once the publisher got it, all of the line changes, I just had no idea. Every single word counts. And there was so much I had put in that needed to be taken out because the illustrations would do the job. So in the end, once I sent it and it was accepted, it was a very speedy process. The illustrator is an amazing Canadian illustrator from Ottawa named Alice Carter, and the way she brought the characters to life is phenomenal. It was exactly how I had it pictured in my head. So
well, I love you. Yeah, she is amazing. I love the illustrations.
Yeah, so cute.
Okay, so would you say on the balance, do you find it easier or harder writing a picture book or a novel?
Harder to write a picture book. That's such a shocking.
Isn't it weird?
Yep. And now that I've done both, and I've actually tried to write a couple other picture books, you'll notice I don't have any others. So like, I'm not saying I won't ever have any others, but way harder. And just coming up with an idea that you can encapsulate into, for sure, I don't know how long yours usually are, but they wanted it. I submitted it at 1,000 words and I was told to cut it in half. I did get it down to about 500 and then I was able to bump it up a little bit. Yeah. But like,
less is more. I mean, when I first started out, probably I would have a picture book around 1,000, and now a first draft, I won't go over 800.
Yeah, that's amazing. And your brain just starts probably thinking differently. So, right? Like,
well, it does. Yeah, it does. But the interesting thing is, I think I found that when I would do readings in classrooms and I was reading a picture book, I understood why 1,000 words is too long. Yeah. And I realized as I'm reading it, 650, 700,
Yeah.
that's a much better length for a picture book.
Right. Yeah. But in that, you still have to get a whole
The whole story
storyline.
and engage and
Yeah,
character
characters
development,
and-
laughing and crying. Yeah, it's interesting. So,
Anybody who's ever tried to entertain a 4-year-old would totally understand
Exactly,
that. 'Cause
exactly.
You've got to encapsulate
exactly,
everything you're doing into
exactly.
a few words.
So, what surprised you most about writing picture books?
How little I knew about them, because despite reading literally hundreds and hundreds of them, both as a teacher, as a librarian, and then to my own kids, like I love
Yeah.
picture books. I have a huge collection at school. I guess I was surprised how it didn't translate the way I thought it would. I read a lot of middle grade and YA, and I find myself becoming a better writer as I read those books, right?
Yeah, that's
I thought like somehow just by osmosis, I'm gonna become better at it.
Yeah,
And I'm curious, just having one, I don't think it's a true test of, I wanted to write more and see if I can get better at them. So there's 2 others that I'm just curious, how will it work, and did I learn something from this one that I've applied to
I'm
the
sure you
next
learned some.
ones?
I'm
I
sure.
hope so.
I mean, because there's technical aspects, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's
the
the
page count.
there's the kaboom, I've got
Yeah.
this great idea,
Right.
but then there's the technical aspects of understanding the
mechanics of it.
mechanics
Yeah,
of a story
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So now you've got those down.
Right.
And
Well, I
it's-
don't know.
You have it down.
I have one. But yeah, it's just really, it's an interesting process.
Yeah.
Like especially after, I've been writing for 15 years since
Yeah.
I had my first son, James. And it was fun to stretch my brain in a different way. It was good. So
Excellent.
that would definitely be my most surprising thing.
Excellent. And so you mentioned that you've got 2 other books that you're working on. Now I know you just have endless ideas for novels. Is it the same with picture books?
Haven't found that actually. Harder to come up with ideas. I might have like a cute thought, but how do you translate that cute idea all the way into a book that is like going to resonate, and the marketability of a book? Just because it's a cute idea, that doesn't mean that anybody is going to want to put it in their classroom or their school.
Right.
It's got to have some kind of catch that's going to grab. And I think that's why they like Teaching Mrs. Muddle.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
a perfect first day of kindergarten book if your child is nervous. I'm
Yep.
sounding like the Home Shopping Network.
So calm now.
You too, can buy it. But I feel like, that made it so now I have that in the back of my mind.
Yes.
It's a cute idea. I've got a cute character, but does it have the marketability factor?
Yeah, there's a lot. Okay, well, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So then the last question I want to ask before you read your book to us is, what projects do you have coming up?
So thank you for mentioning that there were some in the fall. So yes, I have a sequel to Pulse Point called Underland, and then the newest Harvey Holds His Own came out that I'm excited about. And I lose track a little bit.
This is what I mean about prolific.
Sorry.
I have so many books coming out. I don't know.
And then in April, I have another YA coming out called The Life and Deaths of Frankie D. with Dundurn. That's really weird, and I'm excited because I think it's really good, but I'm like anxious. It's a bit of a departure from my usual stuff. And then the third Harvey, I just sent to Pajama Press to find out what they think of that one.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I'm always, there's other balls in the air,
Yeah,
but
look at you.
yeah, we're just waiting for somebody to catch them.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's great. Well, would you read your story to
I
us
would
now?
be happy to, and I think John the Magician is going to put the pictures up on the screen as I read the book. Teaching Mrs. Muddle, written by Colleen Nelson and illustrated by Alice Carter. What if I get lost? I whispered to
The end. Yay! I love Mrs. Muddle.
Yeah,
That was
I
a
love
great
it too.
book.
Today I was talking with my principal and another teacher. I guess we were being a little loud because a grade oner walked by and went, shh,
I love
to her
it.
principal. I was like, you go, girl. So that was very
That is
entertaining.
really good. I love
Yeah,
that.
well, thank you. Okay, so it is my turn to ask you a few questions.
All right.
And I'm quite excited about this because I remember one time when you came to visit my kids at Beaumont, and I think we had them all clap to be quiet. and you were really excited about that.
I
didn't.
I have
It
used
was like
that.
you wanted the power of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, listen to me.
Okay. So I'm excited for everybody to hear your book. As the mother of 2 boys who love hockey slightly obsessively, I feel like it completely gets to the heart of why you want your kid to play hockey. So that's a beautiful message. Vlad is hilarious, and kids are going to completely identify with him and kind of fall in love with this great spirit. So he works so hard to get better at hockey. What advice do you have for kids who want to try new sports?
You know, at home, I've got a poster above my writing desk, and it reads, "Perseverance, there is no substitute for hard work." And I think, you know, that's the message that I would give to any kid who wants to try anything new. And, you know, none of us are good at anything in the beginning. You know, in order to become good, you know, if you find an interest that you're passionate about, you have to apply yourself. You have to work hard to get better. And you have to have the kind of the strength and the gumption to kind of walk over the bumps in the road, and just follow it. Don't let it get you down if you're not as good as you would like to be, because with hard work and perseverance, you will be someday.
Yeah, and honestly, like I see that lesson still needing to be taught more and more to young kids. Yeah. So I feel like sometimes instead of having an overt lesson, having a book that teaches it in a really covert, sneaky way. Well, it helps. Teachers are looking for things like that, and parents too, right?
Yeah.
You need to tie your shoes and ride a bike.
Well, and you know, that's one of the things I loved about Vlad, is he's not great at it to start. He's really way behind everyone else, you know, but he loves it. It's a passion of his, and so he goes for it.
Yeah, no, he's very endearing. So what advice do you have for people who want to write picture books for kids?
Well, we talked a little bit about picture books. You know, I would think, first of all, find your own unique voice and style.
Okay, and also, I've got one, Maureen's got, like, so whatever I said, don't actually listen to, I would take her advice.
No, but it just, find your own unique style. You know, remember that, you know, a picture book, at least half the story is told by the illustrations. Lots of times it's more than half the story. So don't load your story up with descriptions. Don't put anything into words that could be told by the pictures. You know, find a unique story. And you talked a little bit about this, like something that is going to grab a hook. Either a new idea or a twist on an old idea, or a character that is just so compelling that they almost feel real. And then I guess after that, remember that you have about 700 or 800 words to capture the imagination and write a story arc that, you know, and so make every single word count. And that's it. And it's technical. It's its own animal, writing a picture book.
Okay, so you mentioned that coming up with a character that you just really fell in love with. So for Glory on Ice, what was it that started the idea? Like, was it the character? Was it the plot idea?
Well, I will tell you where this came.
It sounds like it's a good story.
Well, you know what? It actually, this book is very near and dear to my heart because it was inspired by my son, Sam.
Aww.
So I'm a good Canadian mother. So when my kids were little, every fall, I would ask them if they wanted to play hockey. And none of them were very interested at all. And no big surprise, we weren't a hockey family. And then in 2011, the Boston Bruins and the Vancouver Canucks were in the Stanley Cup Finals. And Sam, mostly just to be a troublemaker, decided that he was going to cheer for the Bruins because everyone in his class was cheering for the Canucks. And something really kind of amazing happened over the course of those 7 games. By the end of it, Sam had fallen in love with hockey. And so at the age of 12, when Most of his peers had been playing hockey for years and years and years. And I had parents pulling me aside saying, he's too old. He's too old to play hockey.
Wow.
Sam went for it. And, you know, it wasn't easy, but he worked so hard and he persevered and he just had a passion for this game. And he became a really good little hockey player. And honestly, for those years that he was playing, the nights that he had games, the weekends he had games, those were highlights of my week, you know, in the winter time. And, you know, I grew to share his passion for hockey, and now I'm the biggest super fan in the house, and it's added something to my life. So, you know, you wanted to know, this is where the idea for this happened. And plus I wanted to write a story about a vampire, so I just kind of mashed them together.
That's so cool. So does Sam know that Vlad is sort of based on him?
Oh, fully he knows
totally
it.
And he was okay, he's a vampire? He didn't want to be something.
You know what? The book is dedicated to Sam the Bees.
Oh.
So yeah, so
now I get it. I didn't get the bees.
No, yeah, exactly. So yes, he knows, and no, he actually wanted me to let everyone know he's not really a vampire.
That's an awesome story.
It is
I
a nice
love
story.
That.
I like it too.
I feel like that's the way to get into people's hearts too. Like when
because
the book
it's
has
so
that,
close to my heart.
You can feel. Like, I think that's why Vlad is. Yeah,
like he's just.
I don't usually want to hug like 100-year-old vampires.
It's so weird, isn't it?
Just want to take them home and tuck them in. Okay, so I know from personal experience how great you are at presenting at schools, and I also know another teacher that you know named Laura Thomas from Montrose. She was really excited, so I think she might be watching tonight with her kids. So you're so good at engaging students and just the way you read to them, and it's with lots of humor and levity. So what's your favorite part about reading and writing with the kids?
Well, I like writing for kids because, you know, they don't pull any punches. If they think your story's boring, they're going to tell you your story's boring. So they set a nice high bar for us all the time, right? As far as reading to kids, I mean, I just love kids. I love kids, and I go into a classroom. I love their reactions. Yeah. I love their questions. Just love their questions. I love meeting kids who are also writers. Yeah. You know, and having those stories shared. Well, now that you have a picture book, you'll start doing readings to the little ones. And there's nothing like reading to 5- and 6-year-olds to make you feel like a rock star. I mean, at the end of a reading, when, you know, one little one comes and gives you a hug and suddenly there's a stampede of like 5-year-olds who want to hug the author. I mean, it just really doesn't get any better than that.
I know, it's the best feeling.
No, it really is.
So cute. I love that. Okay, so if you had to pick one of your book characters to bring to life, excluding Buddy and Earl, because they did exist.
And they did come to dinner.
Yeah. Which book character would you want to bring to life?
Well, I'm afraid I'd have to have a dinner party.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Because I love my characters. It is hard to pick.
I get that.
But I would probably pick Ortega from my middle grade novel of the same name, because he's a talking gorilla. And I mean, how cool is that? Mm-hmm. I would probably pick Azrael, the handsome chicken thief from my Gypsy King series, because he's super charming and funny and an awesome addition to a dinner party. Well, Santa from the day Santa.
Oh, good call.
You know, stop believing in Harold, because whatever, it's Santa. You know? And then, who doesn't want Santa?
It's quite the dinner party.
And then Vlad.
Yeah,
wow. He's an 800-year-old vampire. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it myself.
All male characters.
You know, well, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I've got some female characters.
No, I know you do. That's why. I mean, so your book, The Day Mom Came to Kindergarten, that book is one of my favorite picture books in general.
I wrote it with a boy, as a boy character.
Oh, you did?
The illustrator turned it into a girl.
But then you have The Day My Dad Joined the Soccer Team.
Yes.
Which was in the McDonald's Happy Meal. In case you're wondering why Maureen's name sounds famous, if you took your kid to McDonald's this past year, then maybe why. Yeah, it's interesting, the boy-girl thing. Because this one I did I knew it was going to be a female main character, like the little girl
Okay.
Kayla, but then the other, like you kind of get a sense of,
You
no,
do.
this is a boy.
Yes, yes,
And
for sure.
it's interesting.
Absolutely.
But the good thing about picture books is it doesn't matter who the audience
Right.
is irrelevant.
Yep.
The story fits.
Absolutely.
But yeah, sometimes the character works better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the voice just seems like
Yeah.
it's one or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so can you share with us some of your upcoming projects?
Yeah, I've got 2 books coming out next year. And so I've got another picture book. It's about a cow with anger management issues. I like that one. And then
Just the elevator pitches of your books make me laugh pretty much. You have a really good way of like throwing the zingers out, and it's like a cow with anger. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, genius.
And then I've got the first book in early reader series. So I'm venturing into early chapter books, early readers, and so it's I think it's called Weenie and Friends: Adventures in Meatloaf. And so it's about the series is about a greedy little wiener dog named Weenie and his best friends Frank and Beans.
Also, it already has me laughing. So
There you
I can't
go.
wait
Yeah,
to see.
it's pretty good.
Okay, so when you say an early picture book or an early reader, how does that differ? Like, put that into context between a middle grade and a picture book.
So you know the Narwhal and Jelly?
Mhm.
Sort of like that.
Okay.
So pictures illustrated, almost graphic novel-y,
Right.
but short
Yeah.
enough for kids who are just starting out reading but want to read chapter 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so fun.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, the writing process must have been a bit different, hey?
The writing process was different than anything I've ever done because it's almost the antithesis of, okay, what's my plot? What's my story arc? It's just drink 80 cups of coffee and snap the tethers to reality and away you go. Like it's supposed to be just, woo, now I'm here, now I'm here, now I'm here. So it was actually like you started sitting there going, okay, go. So it was weird.
Your imagination was just an
Oh,
overdrive.
it was.
Yeah.
It's just,
And was it hard to come back to reality and do something?
Yes, but it's it's a little bit like taking your brain and it's like a squash ball, right? And getting it going and warming it up, and then it's like this. So it was, it's that warming it up was hard a lot of times, in the same way a picture book can be hard.
Yeah.
But then once it got going, it's just woo,
You're off to the races.
They don't want you to have a plot. Wait a minute, there's character development. Slash this, cut this, plot, go away. So it was different.
I can't wait to read it. So when is that coming out? The first week?
I think
Not
spring,
sure. Spring? Okay, yeah.
fall. I should have checked this out. I'm not
That's
sure.
okay. It's a pandemic. You
Thank
kind
you.
of have an excuse
Thank
for
you.
everything.
Thank you. Yes.
Like, for example, not remembering your anniversary. That you could easily blame something like that on a
On the
pandemic.
pandemic.
Thank you.
Did you forget your anniversary?
Well, I just remembered last. So
I just remembered last, the day after.
Not the same. Not the same as forgetting. It would have come eventually.
There you go.
Would you please read
I
your
would
amazing book,
love
Gloria?
to read my
I
book.
can't wait. Are you ready, Magic John? He is. He's so like.
He's-
don't you
I
wish
know,
we had John
I
all the
know,
time?
I
You
know.
Just say
It'd
a
be
word
awesome.
and poof, it happens.
Okay, Glory on Ice, a vampire hockey story by Maureen Fergus and illustrated by the incredible Mark Fearing, author picture. Look at me, don't I look good?
I love
See?
that. Okay, well, John, you have heard both of our books. We have answered some questions from each other.
Yes.
And if you are ready, we are ready to get some audience questions.
Absolutely, and we have quite a few audience questions ready to go.
We're very popular and entertaining, John, just to be clear.
That is clear. So the first one was more of a comment, but does kind of dovetail into a question from Karen Dealey. She mentioned that Grace Dealey loves the Reptile Club, Isabella Dealey loves Spin, and Sadia, and Pulse Point, and Harvey Comes Home. So with that in mind, now that you both have extensive bibliographies behind you, do you either of you have a particular book of your own that stands out as one that you're particularly fond of?
Okay, just full disclosure, that's my sister. That would be why she knows all my books. So thank you, Karen. Well, honestly, my heart always goes to Harvey Comes Home because it's about a Westie like my Westie Rosie, and it also is heavily based on my grandfather's life during the Depression. So that is, I know you're not supposed to have a favorite, just like you're not supposed to have a favorite kid, but like we both know you do.
No, my kids are watching.
You have 3 at least, so like it's always there's a third of a chance it could be that. I only have 2. So I actually think Harvey Comes Home is my favorite. How about you?
I don't really have a favorite. I mean, my books, I've got lots of different sorts of books, and I like them for different reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really.
Ken Opal says his favorite is the one he's working on. You know what I mean? Because it's new and exciting. So.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that too. I believe that you need to be excited about what you're currently working on, but it's hard not to look with affection on all of them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That have come before.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Barb Lepp was curious if you give suggestions to the illustrators of the picture books.
Oh, you did that one.
Yes. I give lots and lots of suggestions. When I'm writing a picture book manuscript, now how I said before that I don't put description in the actual text, but for a 700 word picture book, I usually have about 40 footnotes. So I'm a visual writer. So I'll say, I saw this happening and I saw that happening here. And this is what I think would be funny in this spread and blah, 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 blah. Now, yes, I give suggestions. But sometimes editors will just delete all my suggestions before giving it to the illustrator. Sometimes, I mean, I never talk to the illustrator or meet the illustrator. So I throw it out there, and because I can't help myself. But whether or not they take it, probably not. They're a creator in their own right.
Yeah, it's interesting though.
Yeah.
And have you found, like, Alice nailed exactly the mood and the feel of the book? Have you found that where the illustrators just like exactly got?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I've had situations not quite as much, but yeah, like, I mean, yes, for sure.
Yeah. Because Reptile Room too.
Reptile Club.
Yeah. Reptile Club. I feel like that one, I just loved the energy and the school setting.
Yeah.
It works so
exactly. Buddy and Earl.
Yeah. Yes.
Carrie did a great job on Buddy and Earl. Yeah. So yes, suggestions, but they are creators in their own right. And when you're writing picture books, it's not my book. I write a picture book. I know it's not my book. It really is 3 minds coming together. There's the author, and there's the illustrator, and there's the editor, who plays a real role in bringing it all together. So I look and I think I've got part of a role there, and I can throw my ideas out, but I'm very respectful of the other people involved in the process.
Thanks, Barb.
Colleen, Karen was also wondering how Mrs. Muddle might handle teaching in these COVID times with social distancing and face masks in place.
Not well.
Well, I can tell you this much. She'd be looking for early retirement. No, totally joking. I love teaching during a pandemic. She would make a game out of wearing a mask, and she would see which kindergartner could keep their mask on for the longest. She would also decorate all her hand sanitizer bottles, so to make them look really fun and engaging for the kids. She might put furry pom-pom animals on the tops of them so that the kids could squash them. And I have total confidence that Mrs. Muddle would come up with all kinds of creative ways to engage her kids that meant staying in their hula hoop bubble 2 meters apart.
Fantastic. Maureen, an anonymous attendee, was wondering if any of your other children have inspired you to write a story.
That is so not anonymous. Whichever kid that was, that's my favorite.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I mean, my kids factor into all of my stories. Buddy and Earl, for example. Earl, I say it's a family hedgehog, but it was really my daughter Hannah's hedgehog. And so she saved up her hedge fund, and she came up with that. Yes, my kids and Sophie. I'm feeling very put on the spot.
Just say Gypsy King.
Gypsy King. Sophie was working. No, yes, my kids factor into my stories. And in fact, I get elements of the kids are in all my, or a lot of my stories. When they were little, one of the things that I did, probably the greatest writing project I ever did, was I kept a diary from the time they were babies until they were about 14. And I can go back to any day in their life and read about what they said and what they did and the funny things that they did. So I go back to those a lot looking for inspiration. So yes, my kids are in all of my books.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it is
so,
really cool.
What a gift.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So this question is for either of you, from Lucy Days. How long before the book launch did you start marketing your first book?
So Mrs. Metal, I didn't get my copy. The publishers usually will send a box of the books ahead of time, and it feels weird to start. I feel weird talking about a book until I've actually seen it. Like, what if something happens? So when I got my copies, it was, I think, the second week of school, so I got to read it to my grade 8s, and I think that was the first time that I was like, okay, this is actually real. And so then I started to put things out on social media. Now my publisher, Pajama, is amazing. Laura Bowman is the publicity director. So she would handle all kinds of other aspects that I'm not involved in, like sending it out to get reviewed and getting me there's some different publications that are more industry related that she would have tried to she did hook me up with. So I think generally kind of 6 months before a book is out, the wheels have started to turn. And then once the book is closer to coming out, that's when I start using social media to market. And I made a book trailer. We have to all do what we can. And right now it's kind of a weird time to be launching a book.
Yeah.
What about you?
Me too. What you said. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Another wonderful writer, Jody Carmichael, was wondering, how long do you
Jody!
spend... And hello, Jody. How long do you spend on a picture book from idea creation to getting the manuscript submission ready?
You should take that one.
Well, sometimes an idea will hit me like a bolt of lightning, and I can do a first draft in 45 minutes. And it's just like, boom. Okay. More often, I will spend day after day after day staring at a computer screen, trying to go for walks, trying to get that bolt of lightning. So, the hardest part, I think, is finding that idea that just has legs, that it just almost writes itself, and you know it when you find it.
Right.
So if I can get the idea, it's still a few years, because even if I really, it's a good idea and it writes itself easily, I've still got iterations and iterations, edits, then you hand it off, more edits, and then the artist has to do his or her thing. So I would say very best case scenario, 2 years. More often than not, it can take me 2 years for an idea that I think, yeah, this has potential to actually gel. So a long time.
Yeah, it's a long process for sure.
Jean Mills was wondering, do you test your stories by reading them or parts of them for longer projects to your students or kids?
So I read Mrs. Muddle to my boys. So they would have both been teenagers. Neither of them thought it was very good. So they're hard to impress. None of my books they've ever been like, wow, Mom, you really nailed that. No, they are not that kind of a kid. So I did read it to them, but yeah, because I think, for me anyways, now I see how much the images, the illustrations help with the picture book. So just reading the text out, they didn't think it was that great. How about you?
Well, see, I don't usually test them out on my kids, but I will go over to my husband and I get really close and I just, and I can see the beads of sweat forming on his forehead because he knows he better laugh at the right places and he better really be able to come up with the exact words I want to describe how great this story is. So I go right up to him and, just trickling. So yeah, I will sometimes read him stories, but I think he's much happier if just waits until he sees it in book format, because then the pressure's off.
I always feel bad for spouses of writers.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
We're like such tormented.
Oh yes.
Horrible.
So there are two quick questions from the Fergus clan for Maureen that kind of dovetail into one another. Samuel Michael was wondering what it was about vampires that inspired you to include one in your book. And Hannah Fergus was asking the all-important question, would Vlad make it into the Bruins?
Ooh. Good job, Hannah. That's a good question.
Good. So what inspired me to include Vlad, it was because I thought, I wasn't kidding before. I had this great story over here about perseverance, and I thought, I want to write a story about vampires because vampires are really cool. And I remember I was sitting in a coffee shop and I was actually waiting for one of the kids. They had some volleyball thing. I think maybe it was Sophie. And I dropped her off somewhere and I was sitting in a coffee shop and I was flicking between the two manuscripts and playing with this. And it was like, hey, peanut butter and chocolate, they taste great together. And would Vlad make it into the Bruins? Well, he's got enough heart for it, okay?
Aww.
That's all I'm going to say.
So we are running a little short on time, so there's two more questions. One, I'm going to fold two questions we've already received into one, and that is one from Michelle Kendurisman, who asked, for both of you, do you have places or activities away from the computer where you get your inspiration? And then Linda Nelson was wondering, do you have a favorite time of day or night to write?
Oh, good questions. Thank you, Michelle and Linda. So I write early in the morning. I usually get up about 5:30 and I try to do as much writing as I can on the days that and then I get ready to go to school. But every other day I go for a run. So it actually, John, good job tying those two questions in together because I do all of my best writing when I'm running, actually, or oddly doing dishes. I don't know why. So yeah, so that's a really, you do need to clear your head, and being in front of a computer can actually sometimes be really stifling if you're not moving ahead with something and getting a fresh perspective and then coming back to it with a different mindset. I just find that really helps me.
Yeah, I write any time of day, really. I'm not really a night person, so I would be inclined to get up early and then just kind of go for as long as I can until I feel the brain sort of drying out and I need, to step away. And yeah, I will go away to find inspiration. I work, and I've got usually pre-pandemic, I'd have like 25-minute, half an hour drive to and from work. And so I would sort of say to myself, you've got to come up with one good picture book idea before you can listen to the radio. So, yeah.
Wow, really?
So no pressure or anything.
Yeah, seriously?
Just put myself in a pressure cooker all the time. So
that's so funny. Does it work?
Yes, it would. Yeah.
That's
Awesome. Where it's just like, come on, because I really want to listen to some music or whatever, and it's just like, think. I can't even imagine what I look like. Other drivers looking.
Back to the tormented soul of a writer. Like, oh gosh.
Good. And so in closing, you've both written in all kinds of different genres. Is there a particular genre that each of you is fond of?
So I guess realistic fiction is still where my heart lies because that's my favorite genre to read. And it's generally what I recommend to students. I like hearing voices that I don't know in the books I read, but I like to give kids a voice that is familiar to them in the writing that I make, that I do. So I'm going to say realistic fiction.
Yeah.
How about you?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I'm writing an adult book right now, so I'm kind of stretching my wings a little bit there. I think I need to be writing a novel. Like I could never just be a picture book writer or early grade. It's just too few and far between to get those brilliant, like really good ideas. So any kind of novel, you know,
that sustained writing.
It's good for my soul. I feel rudderless without a novel that I'm attached to, whatever that is.
John, do you mind if I say a couple of closing remarks?
Oh, please go ahead.
I just wanted to say on behalf of Maureen and I, thank you so much to McNally. The support that we receive from our favorite local independent bookstore is immeasurable, and we just love being in your store, and we love the support that you give us at events like this. Thank you so much. Both of our books are available at McNally, and the lovely folks upstairs are always more than happy to help out. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Both of us really appreciate it. You can imagine that releasing a book at this time has had its share of challenges. So knowing that there's an audience out there who don't mind putting their important things that they have to do aside to listen to us laugh and ramble. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And John, you're as usual amazing. Thank you very much for hosting this and putting up with my blurry camera that is making both Maureen and I look 10 years younger. Thank you, John.
Oh, thank you so much. It has a quality West German television quality to it, so it's actually quite So in closing, thank you all so very much for joining us here this evening. It's lovely to have you on board. Thank you for all your questions, your conversation, and for everything in the chat. I will be saving that and I'll be sending it to the authors. So rest assured that all your messages will get through. Colleen Nelson's book is Teaching Mrs. Muddle, published by Pajama Press Incorporated. Maureen Fergus's is Glory on Ice, a vampire hockey story, which is published by Random House Children's. We have many copies of both books, so please do feel free to call the store, visit us, order online. We deliver across the country and beyond. We even deliver within the city, so you don't even need to leave your house to get copies of these picture books. I'd like to express my sincere thanks to the publishers and, of course, to Colleen Nelson and Maureen Fergus for joining us here this evening and celebrating their books in this unusual but incredibly entertaining format. Wishing you all an incredible evening. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, John.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
So we're just stopping the live stream.